It's something that happened by accident. I never planned to be doing the thing that I'm doing at the moment, and there's no reason to think that I will carry on doing it. It's just if there are interesting places to go to and people are prepared to talk to us, then I'll carry on making them. They seem to be willing to open up to us and talk to us, and I think that's testament to the first film that we proved we didn't have an agenda. If we had an agenda, it was only to listen to what they have to say and what their families have to say. You'll never be able to show exactly what it's like to be out there, but hopefully the more programmes like this that are made, then the better understanding there is the sacrifices being made by the British soldiers and by their families. 20 Delta Company have just walked out the main entrance into Masakala DC. The other two platoons have gone out the other side of the DC, and they'll now link up to the north in the green zone. Tomorrow we'll join them and spend the next 3 days out in the field with them where they'll be doing their job, which is fighting the Taliban. If you've not been on the ground in Afghanistan, people are always kind of slightly shocked by how close the contacts are. One of the contacts, if you saw the first episode, is at 30 metres. And also people seem to, the geography of the country, it's a place of extremes. I think it goes from being one of the hottest places on the planet to being one of the coldest. The people are incredibly hardy and they're used to fighting and living there. It's, you know, I talk to many of the soldiers and they say, who's your biggest enemy? Is it in the environment or is it the Taliban? And sometimes, you know, one will say one and one will say the other. The hardest thing that our soldiers probably face, and the most frustrating thing is that, you know, they will go out for 4 days into a certain area, will contact the enemy, possibly kill the enemy, but eventually they have to go back to their forward operating base, to the FOB or to their DC, the base where they live, and in that time the enemy re-infiltrate and come back and take the ground that they've just fought for so hardly. So, you know, don't underestimate the Taliban. They're pretty much still in most places they were a year ago. This is the problem the soldiers confront this time of year. This maze can hide anybody and anything. They can hear us coming. They can see us because of the antennas. And so they can just spray across the field indiscriminately and hit soldiers.
When I come chat at the Taliban, seeing we're in the garden. The garden's just up here.
Right.
So they know where we are.
Get down! If we are going to be able to help the government there and the people who, you know, clearly need help, Afghanistan is pretty much a broken country that needs rebuilding. It's one of the poorest countries on the planet. If we're going to be there and if we're going to help train their army and their police force to be able to look after their own borders, then unfortunately there will be a cost in British lives. When people say to me, what was the hardest thing you ever did in Afghanistan? Well, undoubtedly it's interviewing the mothers who have just lost their 18, 20-year-old boys.
In the last 2 years alone, over 100 British soldiers have lost their lives.
I always come back impressed, enlivened by the people that I meet when I'm on the ground. There is always a mixed emotions. There's also, I mean, I came back from Kajaki on Sunday, and unfortunately I was on the ground when a young soldier lost his life. There's also an element of guilt about coming back because you know that they're there. Probably at this very moment they're engaged in fighting an enemy, you know, a tenacious enemy. But I am also incredibly proud to have met those people and honoured, in fact, to say I can call some of them my friends.